Okay, in this video today, this episode, I'm just showing you something odd in case anybody out there experiences the same thing. I've got this one location on the farm where a half dozen trees adjacent to each other have had big limbs come out of the top of them, not all at once, but consecutively, one after the other after the other. And it's not like this is in a wind tunnel or a canyon or anything. All the land around it is just rolling farmland, and I've made a little crossing through this woods, so the opening's like 20 feet wide, and there isn't any reason why that would create an area that would be especially susceptible to the elements. So that's what's going on in this video today. Plus, at that spot is where I heard something tremendously unusual that other people have also heard. So that's what the video is about today. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, today we're down here at the crossing on the way to the spring. We're 3/4 of a mile west of the house. And I'm going to tell you about something that's just interesting with this location. I'm not sure that it's Sasquatch related, but I'm not sure that it's not. You can make up your own mind. It's probably a little bit of both. And then also, this is the location where something really interesting happened, right here. You can see this crossing in front of me. When we moved back to the farm 10 years ago, hope I don't move too fast, but we will be stopping. This tree here, you see this stump. This tree had just been hit by lightning or something, and it had fallen down where I'm standing and had to be sawed up for firewood. And as I did that, I realized that this was a good place to get across this wash. And so this is the first tree that had the top come out of it. I sawed it up, and I made this lane across here to get from one side of the ditch, basically, to the other. About the next year, the tree in front of us right here is an Osage orange tree, and you can see the top still hanging in it. And this top came down across the trail. You can probably see the nose of my blue truck there. And so about the next year, this top came down, and it had to be sawed up and gotten out of the way. That's 2 trees. Then this little bit of woods runs all the way on down to the Mississippi from here. This next tree, you can see it bent over here. It came down, but it didn't really come down in the trail too much. And it actually has been bent over and knocked about a couple of times. So now, pardon the bouncing, I'm walking across the crossing that I made with an old culvert. And this is all just rainwater here. This is basically how I get the mower across to get on down to the spring. So that's 3 trees. And this is probably a lightning scar, I would say. Okay, so ignoring this tree for a moment, in the brush behind it, there's a stump of another tree that fell over, which we sawed up for firewood. And then this one that's 4 trees, and this is the 5th tree. This one is a mulberry. And you can see that there's a scar right here on the trail side, and there's some of the limbs are still here that haven't been sawed up yet. And I had to saw it up. Now, the thing with this mulberry tree is that by the time it happened, I was aware of the Sabe people. And so I drove my truck up to where it's parked today, came down here to where I'm standing now, and I told the forest, you know, I'm going to have to come down here and saw that up. Sorry for the noise, but I got to get my mower across. Hope that's not too much trouble. And then I started saying a prayer out loud, the remover of difficulties. It's about 3 sentences. Is there any remover of difficulties save God? Say, praised be God, He is God. And about the time I got to this point of the prayer, I was interrupted by a loud conversation, an animated conversation of children's voices, punctuated with laughter. It was one of the most joyful sounds I've ever heard in my life, and it came from 50 feet up this way. Up that way. Now it was probably dry then. This water's only 6 inches deep. And it was loud enough that I stopped the prayer and listened. And it went on for several seconds. And then when they stopped, I looked around and didn't see anything, and looked up there and didn't see anything. And I know there were no children in this forest, this little line of woods here. And I finished the prayer. Say, praise be God, He is God, all are His servants, and all abide by His bidding. That's the end of the prayer. Very short. Now, since then, I found out shortly afterwards, when I reported this to some of my neighbors, they said they have heard this same laughter that I described in their yard up by the houses where we live. And I was thinking this is probably Sabe related. And now I'm much more confident of that because someone has written in to Steve Istall and said that they heard laughter and that before it was finished, a mature female Sabe walked out of brush, not unlike this, I suppose, followed by 2 juvenile Sabes, and they were all still laughing. So that makes me think that the laughter is probably from a Sasquatch, or more than one perhaps. So now, pardon the bobbing, I'm going to walk on around the corner here and show you a couple more things with trees that have come down. Straight ahead of us is the most recent tree that had the top fall out of it. And this could all be wind and lightning, storms and stuff, perhaps. See, it fell down from up higher, and I've pushed this out of the way with the tractor because it fell straight towards where I'm standing. So this is where we were. The crossing makes a little bend back in here. I hope this camera's not moving too fast for you. And that tree is 50 feet distant from the rest of them. But this next tree here is also adjacent to the others that have had tops come out of them. This honeysuckle's grown a lot. It makes it hard to see. But this is the hackberry tree, the real funky looking hackberry. And it had the top come out of it above the trunk right there and fell across the trail also, and I had to saw it up for firewood. I mean, I didn't have to saw it for firewood, but I had to get it out of the trail, so I just sawed it up. And so it's in this tree that I had put the Halloween spooky eyes in the knots and knobs on this guy. It's a really cool looking tree, I think. And they all just kind of vanished. And then I put in the book, because after looking around, I did find one here. And here it is. Right there. I had found it down in the trunk, and I picked it up and I put it in a knot. So I found one. And this looks like it's been chewed up a little bit. But it was funny that they were all taken out of the knots. I don't know if a squirrel would do that, but they all disappeared in pretty short order. So it was either a squirrel or a raccoon or something. And of course, my recollection is it's probably or something. Now, I could be wrong, but right here we've got 1, 2, 3, 5 trees adjacent to each other, plus 2 other ones, maybe 1 tree away, all of which had been damaged so that the tops came down across the trail at this little crossing, which had not been here before. And as you look around the woods, now there's other trees that are down, but I don't think there are 6 together. Now, this is the trail that goes on down through this woods to the area we call the meadow. And right where it gets to that honeysuckle, it goes through that and comes out the other side and looks just about the same as it does here. And right at the edge of the honeysuckle on the far side, that's where I saw something move, looked at it in the middle of the trail, and it was a snapping turtle that had just snapped at something. As if something had just dropped it. I saw a sudden movement, like I saw it hit the ground, and it was snapping up as it did so. But I never saw what dropped it. And then I was there in just a moment, and I edged around it with my mower thinking I should look at the uphill side of this thing right now, and I couldn't make myself do it. So that's what's gone on down here. You get beyond this little bit of woods, and then on the way down to the spring proper, I think I've mentioned it in another video, that's where I found, was presented with the hindquarter of a fawn deer in June. Coming up in June, it will be like, I don't know, this may be the 3rd year. And then later in July, I learned that someone else had been presented with the hindquarter of a fawn deer in much the same way, similar MO. And that's when I really began to think that the Sabe people were people. And I knew that they were here. So, just wanted to share this location with you. And then too, this is like halfway to the spring, beyond halfway to the spring. And just up there is a hilltop and a knoll where another family member feels like something was watching them. And they said they stopped and locked eyes with whatever this was up there on that knoll. And that's just 1/8 of a mile from here. You know, I don't know how far that is. Maybe 1/4 mile, 300 yards. Not far. And so that makes this whole, I mean, that's a lot going on a little 20-foot wide strip of trail that's 3/4 of a mile long, maybe a mile long. So that's what has happened here. I wanted to share this place with you. Thanks for checking in. We'll just set this here and blue glass. I found it at the crossing. It's part of an old bottle. I'm going to put it here. A new subscriber suggested they like blue. We'll see what happens.